Hey guys, welcome to the Perfectly Wasted Podcast. I'm the host, DullOxide. Today is episode 39 on Live Action USA. You can find all my previous episodes on the Drinking Wisemen YouTube channel, along with my bi-weekly podcast, Brew the Truth, all my day-to-day photos and cosplay photos on my Instagram, at DullOxide. Now, I know somewhat recently I did do an episode about us kind of like culture washing movies for America, and my example of which was Ghost in a Shell. So in Ghost in a Shell, you have these characters that are obviously supposed to be of a different nationality being portrayed by white Americans. And this is something that happens in America when a movie or a storyline gets taken over by Hollywood. Basically, they pick whoever they feel like is going to sell the most tickets. So as of recently, there's been a lot of different announcements of different live action movies or live action shows that are going to be coming to America that are actually based on Japanese manga or anime. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this and kind of see what other people thought and kind of go back in recent history and look at some stuff that's already been produced. So most notable of these things would probably be, besides the Ghost in a Shell movie, which is most recent, the Dragonball Evolution movie, which was completely fucking horrible. I don't think I've seen Dragon Ball's name placed on anything that I hated more than this movie. This movie was complete shit in my opinion. I would not give it a second watch. I would not recommend it to anyone. I would not recommend anyone that's listening to this right now even look at this movie poster. It was so bad, so bad, that it made me hate Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z a little bit. So whoever wrote this screenplay and whoever casted this film, please do not make any anime to live action American adaptations ever again. Just quit your job. Please just stop. Now, this is pretty harsh criticism. The movie was pretty fantastically fucking bad, alright? But that's only because I'm a pretty big fan of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You know, maybe by American movie standards, it wasn't really that bad. Maybe I'm overreacting. That's fair to say. But there are much better ways that they could have gone about it and made a much better movie, especially with just how much this series is loved. How bad this movie was, just in my own opinion, is astonishing. Like, I'm pretty sure you couldn't pay me to watch this movie again. That's how bad it was. Alright? Now, obviously, if you offered me quite a large sum, I definitely would consider or more than likely watch it. But it was just that bad. So, here's one example of a completely failed project where they took a Japanese animation and manga and they adapted it to an American live action movie and they just ended up with complete trash. Additionally, there have been pretty successful adaptations of Japanese animation into movies. One example would be the Speed Racer movie. So, I know a lot of people talk trash on this movie and they don't really like it, but I actually enjoyed it very much. The visuals inside of the movie were fantastic. They additionally incorporated some humor and some other aspects inside of the movie that kind of gave you a feel of the original animation, and just overall, it was just a visually exciting experience to watch the movie. I've watched this movie several times. Would I watch it again? Definitely. Alright, now, it's not exactly like the original animation, but it did have some portions of it that were based on the original story. And like any movie, the screenplay for the movie is going to be slightly different, or even mostly different from the original anime or manga storyline. So you can't really hate on them too much for making it so different. The difference between this and something like the Dragon Ball Evolution movie is that they chose all-American cast inside of this, obviously. Some big names, some small names, you know, and they did pretty good casting in my opinion. Inside of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, they kind of didn't really do that. So they chose an American actor for Goku, and then most of the other characters were of Asian descent of some kind, and it just kind of felt really off. So that's kind of where I had a problem with this. Now, obviously, inside of the original animation, most of these people look like they're probably somewhat American. Not so much American that you might not be able to tell, but usually you can kind of get an idea when you're watching something if the character is supposed to be an American character. So the character designs on people like Goku and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z kind of look a little bit more westernized. Now, they obviously look very similar again to their Asian counterparts who you know are Asian, like Krillin is supposed to be Asian, I believe, and so is Yamcha. So obviously there's not that big of a distinguishing factor, but all the characters inside of Dragon Ball Z kind of look more Western, similar to Fist of the North Star. So where is the big difference between these two films? Realistically, I believe it's in the screenplay and the cast selection, but overall, it's just the entertainment factor of the movie. So the Speed Racer movie definitely followed the same plot as the original series. It was relatively close. The Dragon Ball movie was not quite in the same boat. There was a really quick evolution, if you will, in the movie where Goku became powerful, and it was just not a really good way to portray it, in my opinion. Now, additionally, there have been other movies that have come out that are based on Japanese manga and anime, like the movie Guyver and movie Oldboy, both of which I believe actually had Japanese live-action films made of them as well. So I've seen the Japanese version of Oldboy and not the American version of Oldboy, and the Japanese version was really extremely fucked up and good. I can't imagine that the American live action will be anywhere near as good, but I haven't given it a try, so I don't know for sure. Now, additionally, I've seen that there's supposed to be a Battle Angel movie coming out in the near future. I don't quite know how they're going to cast this. I imagine it's going to be similar to the casting of Ghost in a Shell, and since Ghost in a Shell was successful, and this is kind of like a very similar-ish genre, I think that more than likely the casting on this will be relatively accurate. I believe the main character in this is a younger girl who has been replaced mostly by mechanical parts. And I did watch this anime. It was quite a long time ago. But I do recall that being the case, she basically became like a super android, if you will. So they were trying to get to Utopia up in the sky, and it kind of didn't work out exactly as planned. I am kind of interested to see how this comes out. Hopefully it'll be relatively good, and hopefully it won't be a waste of time. I've heard additionally that they have been considering for quite some time and might have even gotten some funding for an Akira live-action US adaptation, but I just don't know exactly how that's going to go. As I mentioned inside of my previous cast, we're looking for the newest Death Note Netflix series that's supposed to be American live-action, which, again, I'm not quite so sure how that's going to turn out, but there are a lot of characters inside of Death Note that do look more American than they do Japanese. So, that being the case, there's a good chance they really won't fuck that up. If it goes the way of Dragon Ball Evolution, we might be a little bit screwed here, guys. But overall, I am looking forward to it because I really did enjoy Death Note. And like any series that I really, really enjoyed, I will watch an American film adaptation of it, even if it is complete trash. More than likely, I'll watch it in theater. In this case, it's on Netflix, so I don't have to go that far. I'm kind of looking forward to how this goes. And the reason that I decided to do this podcast today is because just recently, they've released information saying that one of my favorite animes from back when I was younger is being turned into a live-action movie in the United States. And that would be Cowboy Bebop. So I did really enjoy Cowboy Bebop growing up. I've watched both the American voice acting versions of it and the Japanese voice acting versions of it. I've seen all of the episodes in both voices, and I think that this is probably an okay idea. The reason being that the characters inside of Cowboy Bebop do kind of have more of an Americanish feel. There are a couple of exceptions, but even with those exceptions, I think that they could do a fantastic job with this. Now, before I say anything else, I do want to say I have not looked at any of the casting suggestions or casting that they've selected on this, if they have selected casting. Realistically, they could completely ruin a series that I loved as a young adult. But I still will see it in theaters. Even if it gets bad reviews, I will still see it. So, this is kind of the reason I decided to do this episode overall, because it does seem like we're kind of going and taking another thing out of Japanese culture, cherry picking it and popping it right into American culture. Now, there are additionally rumors that there's going to be a live action Naruto and Bleach USA version, and I can just imagine that they'll probably be pretty fucking terrible. But, again, as I do want to see this continue to come to America, I have really no choice but to support it in some way. So I am looking forward to this adaptation of the Cowboy Bebop live action film. I hope it isn't complete trash, and I hope that we continue to get movies based on fantastic storylines. Now, if they could do the storylines justice, I'll be even happier, but I'm not holding my breath on this because, unfortunately, Hollywood has a way of taking even the best storylines and making them complete trash. If you have any difference of opinion on this specific subject, please do let me know in the comments. Please do like, subscribe, and share this episode. And again, that was 10 minutes perfectly wasted.